Let's say it is 4 a.m. When you try to check the news on your phone, there is no signal. The room remains black even when you flip the light switch. Outside, a sound we haven't heard in Europe in 8 decades has taken the place of the far-off hum of the city, the low, gut-shaking rumbling of supersonic engines blasting through the atmosphere. It's not a film. As of April 2026, Moscow's and Brussels' war rooms are simulating this scenario. The tripwire was established after NATO countries made the historic decision to shift to a 5% GDP defense budget at the Hague summit last month. But how would a war between the world's most powerful alliance and the world's most battle-hardened military actually play out? Most people think it's about tanks and nukes. They're wrong. It's about something much more terrifying. Let's dive into the details and look at the 8 points that define the end of the world as we know it. Point 1. The silent strike, the digital prelude. You might think the first shot is fired by a tank, but let's look at why the first soldier is actually an invisible line of code. In 2026, war doesn't begin with a declaration. It begins with a deletion. Russia's Gerasimov doctrine prioritizes non-linear warfare. Before a single Russian soldier crosses the border, NATO's nervous system is severed. Undersea fiber optic cables in the Atlantic, the lifeblood of the global internet, are cut by deep-sea submersibles. Simultaneously, a wiper malware, more advanced than anything we saw in the early 2020s, hits the European power grid. Why? Because a confused enemy is a defeated enemy. In this opening hour, NATO's high-tech edge becomes its greatest weakness. If you can't coordinate a strike because your encrypted satellite link is being jammed by a Russian Krasuka electronic warfare system, your billion-dollar stealth jet is just an expensive glider. This digital blackout creates a 12-hour window of chaos, and that is exactly when the hardware begins to move. Point 2. The Suwalki Gap, the killing box. Everyone is watching the big cities, but let's dive into this tiny 60-mile strip of land that could decide the fate of the West. Now, let's look at the map. Between Poland and Lithuania lies a 60-mile stretch of land known as the Suwalki Gap. To military planners, this is the most dangerous square inch on Earth. In this scenario, Russian armored divisions from Belarus and the Kaliningrad exclave launch a pincer movement. Their goal? Close the gap. If they succeed, the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are physically cut off from their NATO allies. This creates a fait accompli. Russia grabs the territory and then says to the West, "Are you really willing to start a nuclear war to get Vilnius back?" The suspense here is agonizing. NATO has exactly 72 hours to break that blockade before Russia digs in with S-500 anti-air systems, making the airspace a no-go zone for years. Point 3. The Baltic Lake, the naval trap. Russia feels confident on land, but let's see why the ocean is about to become their biggest graveyard. Let's start with point 3, the naval nightmare. While the land war looks grim for NATO's eastern flank, the sea is a different story. Since Sweden and Finland joined the alliance, the Baltic Sea has effectively become a NATO lake. Russia's Baltic Fleet, based in St. Petersburg and Kaliningrad, finds itself in a geographic cage. NATO's sea-sensing AI grid, perfected in early 2026, tracks every Russian submarine noise in real time. Within 48 hours of the first shot, NATO's stealth submarines and smart mines would likely neutralize Russia's surface fleet. But don't celebrate yet, because a cornered bear is the most dangerous. Point 4. The 5% reality, Europe's war factory. You've heard about the money, but let's explore how Europe just turned into a massive, unstoppable industrial machine. For decades, Europe was criticized for having a hollow military. But let's look at how the 2026 Hague Summit changed everything. We are seeing the arsenal of democracy rebooted. Poland has become the heavy armor hub of Europe, boasting more modern tanks than the UK, France, and Germany combined. Germany's military pivot has finally matured, producing Skyranger air defense systems at a terrifying pace. The tension here lies in a race against time. Russia has the first mover advantage. They have been on a total war economy since 2024. NATO has the industrial depth. Point 5. the electronic fog. Wait, what if I told you that NATO's billion-dollar jets could be defeated by a simple radio frequency? Let's dive into point 5, the invisible shield. This is where the updated data gets truly interesting. In the 2026 conflict, the most important weapon isn't a missile, it's a frequency. Russia's electronic warfare capabilities are arguably the best in the world. They have perfected GPS spoofing. During a conflict, a pilot might think they are flying toward a target in Moscow, while their instruments are actually leading them into a mountain or a friendly fire zone. NATO's response? Cognitive radio and AI-driven frequency hopping. This is a wizard war. The side that controls the electromagnetic spectrum controls the sky. Point 6. The nuclear gambit, the tactical threshold. Here is where it gets truly dark. Let's look at the moment Russia decides to lose the war to win the world. We have reached point 6, and it is the point of no return. Russian military doctrine includes a concept called escalate to de-escalate. Imagine NATO's combined air power finally breaks through. They are destroying Russian supply lines and pushing toward the border. Moscow feels the existential threat. Instead of a full-scale nuclear launch, they use a tactical nuclear weapon, a low-yield device designed for the battlefield, perhaps over a military base or a remote forest. The goal isn't to kill millions, it's to freeze the world in terror. Let's look at the suspense in that moment. NATO has minutes to decide, do we strike back with a nuke and trigger the end of human civilization? Or do we stop our advance and let Russia keep what they've stolen? This is the ultimate checkmate. Point 7. The global collapse, the economic fallout. Forget the battlefield for a second. Let's see how a war in Europe deletes your bank account in America or Asia. Let's start with point 7, the ripple effect. We often think of war as over there, but in 2026, the world is too connected to hide. If NATO activates cyber sanction tier 5, Russia is totally unplugged from the global financial grid. But Russia provides a massive chunk of the world's fertilizer and rare earth metals needed for your smartphone and EV batteries. Within weeks, global food prices would triple. The microchip shortage would make the 2021 crisis look like a minor inconvenience. Point 8. The AI factors, the autonomous endgame. We've looked at humans and machines, but let's conclude with the one thing neither side can actually control. Finally, point 8. The AI commander. By 2026, both NATO and Russia have integrated AI into their kill chains. These systems can process data and launch counterstrikes faster than any human general. The danger? Algorithmic escalation. An AI might interpret a routine sensor glitch as an incoming missile and launch a counterattack before a human even has time to drink their coffee. We are entering an era where the war could start, escalate, and reach the nuclear threshold entirely by accident, driven by code that was designed to protect us. So, what if NATO and Russia went to war in 2026? The data tells us that NATO has the money, the tech, and the numbers, but Russia has the positioning, the battle-hardened experience, and a terrifying willingness to use the ultimate weapon. In the end, a war between these two titans wouldn't have a victory day. It would only have a survival day. As we stand here in 2026, the red line has never been thinner. The question isn't just who has the better tanks or the faster jets. The real question is, can the world's leaders find a way to step back from the edge before the ghost war becomes our reality? Thanks for watching this deep dive. The world is changing fast. Don't get left in the dark.